Well, welcome to the Blue Aces podcast, where we'll explore how AI is reshaping industries and accelerating innovation. I'm your host, Jack Bedick, and today I am joined by Jereme Dozier, who, if you want to fill us in on your title and background, be much
I'm the
appreciated.
CEO of Axios Security Group. Excuse me.
Fantastic. Can you tell us a
Yeah.
little bit about your background and really just the journey that led you to where you are today and hopping on the podcast?
Well, I mean, our journey is always long. My journey was a long one. It started out as a young soldier. I served in the Army for about 10 years. Really more in line to joining the Army is because I didn't want to go to college, because I knew I'd go to college and I'd just be a wasted space and money. So I was like, all right, I need something to motivate me. And of course, I saw this amazing, cool, like Army Ranger video, and back in the early '90s, man, it was like the coolest video I ever saw, and I was like, that's going to be me. And there I
That's
went.
awesome.
That was the pathway I took, and I enjoyed it, and I loved it. And then I got out and just did odd jobs, man, contract work, whatever I could find to really kind of get into this. And then I had a friend of mine. He stumbled into, I guess, private investigations, and I was doing some, I guess, insurance stuff before, and then and it was in sales and things of that nature, just trying to pay the bills. Essentially, what it was. And ultimately, he connected me, and he's like, "Hey, bro, let me get you on board." And he did. And then I fell in love with it. And then I was like, man, this is exactly what I love to do, like intelligence gathering, counterintelligence, counter surveillance. Essentially, sort of the cusp of what we were doing, a little bit of what we were doing. And then I kind of grew into it. And then he backed out. And then I was like, hey, I love this stuff. Let me create my own company. And I did. And with my business partner. And now, we became Axios Investigations firm. And then all of a sudden, it was just starting getting a lot of security, requests. And you really can't really tie in private investigations with cybersecurity. It doesn't really coalesce. So at that point, we decided to create a subpart, which is Axios Security Group, to enhance our sort of executive protection, security, cybersecurity, all the guys that we already had in the investigation side doing the work, but then they fell more into their elements. So we sort of separated, delineated the two. We had the investigations and then the security. And then that way we can focus on both. So now we have Axios Investigations firm and then Axios Security Group. And that's kind of where it all transpired. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And I'm sure I'll ask you a few more questions about the actual business and the services you offer. But first, I did just want to jump into a little bit more of like the industry from a broad perspective. So I guess from your end, if you zoomed out and looked at the wider security and cybersecurity, I guess if you want to focus there, landscape as a whole, any like major shifts or trends that you think are shaping the future of the industry?
Well, I mean, yeah, I mean, obviously, our artificial intelligence AI has really been. I mean, it's like the new hotness right now. So much so that you've got Grok, which is on Twitter, and they're competing with Sam Altman's and his crew. The artificial intelligence ChatGPT, sort of the OG of AI, essentially, and they're butting heads to see who can create the coolest, most human-like AI component. And it's really amazing to watch because they're battling it out. But meanwhile, we as consumers are really benefiting because the advancements of AI are so crazy. I mean, especially in the cybersecurity world, because where it would be, say, for example, I had code and I was reading some code and I was going through this, and you saw a great example of Doge. When Doge was going through, like him, don't like him, when Doge was going through with Elon Musk, he had his AI crew and they went through, imagine all the documents for the government, 600 million pages. I don't even know how much. It was just a buttload of documents, and they burned through that in a couple of weeks because of AI. And it's similar to what we do. I mean, you're doing pen tests, vulnerability testings, that would usually take weeks on end, maybe months, depending, like the Matrix. You're watching the green screen, just the code come down, and you're just like, oh my God. And the AI just eats it up like freaking candy and then spits out a report. And then all of a sudden you're like, wow, this is amazing. And then where the human element comes is basically you're just, double checking the math, double checking the language, double checking the line item, making sure that it matches. And you basically have removed months and weeks of work in less than a week. I mean, it's crazy the amount of capability AI has. But I think the other thing is that most importantly is dealing with the fact that it's so beneficial to so many people, and in getting that understanding of how to utilize it properly is key, because AI could also work against you, especially if you don't know how to manipulate it, or you don't know how to use it in a way that is going to be beneficial to your company. And sometimes AI, if you just seemingly just trust the AI and then submit it, that's like a trust but verify thing. You have to trust what they're saying, but you got to verify the information. If you don't, it's not going to work out.
It's very funny. I'm smiling as you're speaking, because it kind of leads me right into my next question, which is, for a lot of people like outside of just a general technology space, obviously like cybersecurity specifically, but what do you feel like most people like misunderstand or underestimate about how AI affects? Again, if you want to focus on cybersecurity, great, but technology as a whole.
It's a broad base. You're talking about the enhancement of systems. So I'm, an older man. Let's just cut it through it. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I had, I think an Apple One computer. I had a ColecoVision. So if that puts it into perspective, that helps. I was pre-Atari. This is how old I am. But and so where we were actually coding to get any kind of programming, you actually had to create code. And it would have been amazing to have AI back then, but that's just the way it works. I'm old school Stone Age computer. But the key is that with AI and its effect across the spectrum, you're talking about not only with cybersecurity components, you're talking with security, physical security as well. The fact that they were talking about this in, I'm not going to get into politics of it all, but the Charlie Kirk shooting, they had apparently, and based off what I saw, that image, they had to use AI to try to enhance the image of the suspected shooter. So basically the video was so overly pixelated, so overly whatever. And you could tell it had to have been some kind of AI program, because the image based off, and again, I'm not getting into semantics, I'm staying away from it all. I'm just going to based off the fact of AI. You look at the images, and if you ever created an AI image, there was just some slight nuances, just some slight details that change, ears, nose, whatever, but it's whatever. Fingers. Yeah. Trouble. Exactly. It's just a slight distortion. And but however, they may have not caught him. If this was like an old school 1980s type of thing, and they try to post that picture, they may have not have, at least whoever they feel they got, they may have not gotten that person, because the dad may have not recognized him, or the pastor, whoever recognized him. They have not done so because AI had been able to produce an image so vast, so quick, so decisively, and enhanced so quickly. It would have taken what would have taken months and weeks to discover, took only a matter of days, as you could tell by the FBI and their reaction to it.
Yeah. No, that's fantastic. Honestly, good example of it. Actually, it's funny because you mentioned, hey, how, if this happened, whatever, 10, 20, 50 years ago, the technology we didn't have available.
No, it wasn't.
So I'm curious. Yeah, I'm curious if you look at like 5-10 years from now, any ideas on what you feel like will be very different and what might be pretty similar to how it is today?
No, I don't think it's going to be similar. I think it's going to be a lot different. It's going to be more. So you're talking again, when I was thinking about when I was going back to my past, and I was telling ColecoVision, which, thinking about the old bloop, 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 Plinko, games, and then how that took almost 15 years before it got to accelerated to where we got to like Nintendo and Game Boy. And then, again, that grew. And then all of a sudden, within the last, 5-10 years, maybe 5 years, it got so accelerated. it's almost like some conspiracy think it's some alien speaking to us from a distant planet, but it's like it's so accelerated that it's gone so high, and it's got to a point where um, you're talking in the last 5 years, we're at here now. I think you're going to have the coding and the DNA of AI is going to be so it's going to be so crazily almost human where you may not distinguish the difference.
Yeah,
I really feel like
I
that's
think
going to be where you're at.
it's very interesting because I feel like we definitely already have like that sprinkled in somewhere where I'm
Yeah.
like, I don't know if this is real or not, whether it's an image, a video,
No.
whatever it might be. That yeah, sometimes I can't tell the difference, and it's interesting. It's also scary.
Oh, it's scary.
Personally.
Yeah, it's scary because you're going to see a lot of people that are going to try to manipulate this. I mean, they're already doing it. In the investigative side, people were doing this to scam millions of dollars out of a lot of high-end folks. We've had, um, clients call us and been scammed by these people who created this sort of AI platform in such a way that is so sophisticated. It's almost impossible unless you're using AI to figure out if it's AI. You're like here, it's so funny. It's like competing AIs. You're taking your AI cyber component, and then you're seeing their AI, and you're throwing them together, and then your side is saying, yeah, that's AI for sure. That's an AI image or created image. It's not real. And then it's like the battle of the AIs. And the thing is that you're going to get to a point where it's like, seriously, you're not going to be able to tell it's real. I saw this really funny thing, and it was really interesting to go back to your point about where we're going to be. There was a video, and I saw this during I think it was like a AI seminar or AI thing. It was really interesting where they had this hotel or some place, and then the secretary was AI or the administrator was AI, and then they started talking to each other. I don't know if it was ordering pizza or ordering something from the store. And then all of a sudden they were like, how may I help you? And then the AI is like, well, I'd like to order this or get this. And then the AI was like, okay, when do you like it? And the other one's like this. And then all of a sudden they realized they're talking to each other in their AI. Then they started talking in computer code. Have you ever seen that?
No, I
It
have
is
not. That's very
no, it is absolutely nuts. You're literally watching them talk to each other for a good minute or two, identify, and then they realize that, wait a second, this is not a human voice. The fluctuation, the intonation is not human. I realize I'm talking to another AI. Then they break it down into some weird, it's so creepy, like computer code. And then you see the screens and they're like ordering it, doing whatever it's supposed to do, but you don't understand what's happening. The computers are talking to each other over. It's like, what? And that was like, I don't know, that was like a year ago that happened. So you can imagine where we're going to be at. I mean, it's just like, oh man, I was talking to someone about that movie with Will Smith. What was it called? iRobot, yeah, where you're going to have robots, and they're already doing it in China, Japan. We got robots that are just like doing stuff like cleaning. I think Tesla introduced a robot to help clean. I mean, there was one with that girl from Transformers that recently came out, Subservient or whatever. It was what was that famous actress? The one that was a really pretty girl. I can't remember her name, but anyway, she was
Megan Fox.
Megan Fox, thank you. Megan Fox was in a movie, and I didn't really watch it, but there was a movie about AI, and she was an AI servant. Then, of course, she went haywire and apparently killed everybody, or tried to kill everybody. But the point was,
okay, I want to say that's Ex Machina.
No, Ex Machina, similar to that. It's similar to that. I never again saw that movie, but I kind of saw the highlights of it. I understand the premise of it, but it's getting to that point, and you're going to be like, it's going to be so creepy because all of a sudden you might be, on a date with somebody, and you're thinking this is like a regular human, right? And they're interacting like a human, and all of a sudden they're like, and then you realize that I'm just like talking to you. I'm talking to like people like us. And it's a freaking machine. It's AI. It's just not even that is where I feel like we're headed in the next 5 to 10 years. It is going to be so much so where we are they are getting it in Tesla, and Elon Musk had pointed out, he's trying to get to that point where it's so human.
Seem
It's
yeah.
like it's almost humanity itself, less the DNA. It's just crazy, and I see that soon, 5 to 10 years. That's probably where we're headed.
Yeah, no, that won't shock me at all. I feel like,
No,
especially
it's
with just
not. I mean,
how
it's already in the movies.
growth is.
Hollywood always is the
Yeah,
preface to these crazy ideas, like Star Trek. Remember Star Trek in the '60s? They had all these crazy things, and all of a sudden, except for the teleportation thing, and I'm sure that will be coming up sometime. But the comms and the crazy laser, all that stuff is here. Yeah, the medical like reader, you read, it's all here. It's like I said, Hollywood, the imagination is already there and it's already putting out there. People are just like, okay, I can do this. This is how you do it. This is what's going to happen.
yeah, yeah. Very cool, but like I said,
Scary.
nerve wracking.
Yeah, it's scary. Yeah, seriously. Yeah.
Well, yeah, I did want to pivot into Axios a little bit. So curious, I guess, if you could just give me a little bit more insight into what you do, who your maybe typical clients are, and what problem you're solving for them.
Well, in the physical or the cyber world, or both, it makes no difference.
Both, honestly,
Okay.
as a whole. Yeah, if you
Yeah.
want to focus on the cyber, then feel free.
Yeah. Just
But
either
yeah,
way, I'll go both. I'll just give you a short, elevator pitch. Both.
perfect.
The first, like, so on the physical side, we deal with a lot of high end clients. We deal with a lot of clients too. Others that are people that need security. In the physical side, basically all we did is we took all the military training that we've gone mustered up through special operations, and then of course we have our law enforcement officers, um, our brothers and sisters. But the key element is we've come to this sort of created this culmination, and we took all the nonsense that we saw while we're serving, and basically we doing just the opposite. What we saw a lot of times, um, while we're serving, or even when we're working for other people, we saw a lot of stuff that just made absolute no sense. And so we've recreated the wheel. I always say, we're not trying to recreate the wheel, we're trying to put better rims on it. Essentially, is not what we're doing. We're putting better rims on it. And basically, what we've done is created a way where uh, we're not sort of changing the game in the sense of what executive protection is or physical security is. We're just trying to better enhance it through incorporating things like AI, incorporating things that are like drone technology. We just now have a drone technology that we're utilizing. A lot of security companies are not utilizing, which we feel is like, crazy. I don't know why, but we have some serious drone technology. And I think the thing that people are not, don't utilize it because they're a little bit old school. So they use this sort of mindset of, hey, we'll just have a bunch of physical security guys, which is great. But then you have all this complementary technology that can be very helpful. And this was something that, when someone asked me about the Charlie Kirk thing, I'm not trying to get into politics, but one of the things I brought up was that I was shocked that they didn't have some kind of sniper overwatch or drone technology that was flying over the buildings. If they had that, then I don't think this would have been an issue. I think they would have isolated that problem. I mean, who knows? Yeah, because you had an aerial view. I mean, a constant aerial view. And it's also as a deterrent. If you're a sniper on top of a building and you see there's drones, you're less likelihood to go up there because now you've just been exposed. And so now, again, sniper, the whole point about being a sniper is not being exposed and being hidden. I thought that was interesting that they did not have that. And not all clients can afford it, not all clients do. But if you're someone who has high value, high net worth, high net worth ability to do that, I feel like that needs to be incorporated. I think that's one of the new newer technologies that are not a lot of companies are incorporating, but we are definitely incorporating, and we're also incorporating it into the physical side of our training too. Where we train countries, foreign countries. We do a lot of not a lot, but we used to do a lot until all the craziness of the border. But we train countries in relation to their police forces, their military, outside of the special operations. Generally, special operations groups tend to stick with special operations already. They already have this sort of contracts with the United States government, and they call them JSETs. which are it's basically Joint Command Exercise Training. But anyway, nonetheless, JSETs. And basically, the JSET is where they train them to be better military and special operations. But we tend to focus on like law enforcement, police officers in Mexico, South American countries, Asian countries, where they need the UAS systems because one of the and I'll get last bit here. One of the countries that we went to, the cartels had drones. They had actually they were they were seriously good at drones, and they were using these drones to identify police movements. And because they were trained, most of these guys were trained by either special operations or trained by Americans. And so what they did is they said, okay, we're just going to take all that we learned and put it in the cartels and get paid tons of dollars and then use it for our benefit. I'm not saying it's good or bad. I'm just saying it's using for their benefit. And that's how they're killing all these police, because these police are like so country based, just old school mentality. They are not upgrading their ability to fight the cartels, and the cartels have all that money, and they're just like investing into tactical operations and training. I mean, they are literally creating a special operations army using drones. So you can't compete with that, and that's one of the things that we're trying to help other countries do. But that's on the physical side, and that's of course segues into the cyber side. And a lot of the clients that we deal with on the cyber side deals with vulnerability testing, a lot of bug sweeping, IP issue, intellectual property issues. When we deal with cybersecurity, that sort of covers a lot. Red team, blue teams, the whole nine, in dealing with that. And one of the things that we deal with is, a lot of times is the pen testing, the vulnerability testing, because they have issues where they're concerned, especially with all the hacking. I mean, you just recently, last year, I was talking to another show. They were talking about the hacking, and one of those was the medical. I think it was United Healthcare Systems, that has all the veterans' healthcare system data, which of course affects me. But it completely got obliterated. It was ransomware, and they had to pay out like unseen amount, but it didn't matter because they gave it all back. But how much of that ended up on the dark web? It's already out there. It's on the web. It's never going back. So a lot of people's and that was actually an issue with an employee password, and they actually forgot to change their password, or didn't. Well, we talked about the
very simple.
Simple. Like the phishing. We talked about phishing, but basically, they did not have a password. I think it was a password issue where they left some simple password, and they didn't have two-factor authentication or multi-factor authentication. So for us, when we deal with clients, we try to create the vulnerability testing or pen testing. Of course, pen testing is a lot heavier and deeper. But a vulnerability testing, of course, and then we, check that. In fact, it's funny. I was using a VPN today, our cyber team, because I was talking to an international client, and my cyber people, and it was logged into my email. I forgot to log out, and they kept calling me during the meeting. I'm like, "What's going on? Well, why is my cyber people calling me during my meeting? Do they not know I'm in a meeting?" And they're like, "Hey, your system's has a problem." And like, "What's going on?" I'm like, "Just a minute." I'm like, "What's going on?" I'm like, "Why are you calling me?" And they're like, "Your VPN. I guess you must be using a VPN." I'm like, "Yeah." Well, we were concerned because it looked like you were in another country. Yeah, but that's literally. I mean, I love that. That's the best part.
No, I think it's more of like I tell people this all the time. Like cybersecurity, it's like, well, I'd rather you block something or somebody be alerted or notified. It's just like, well, let's let it happen, and then we'll figure out later if it's an issue.
They booted me out, and I had all my notes on it. And I was like, "Oh my god!" And I was literally all my notes, and I was like, "Oh, thank God I remember everything I was going to talk about." But it was really funny. They booted me right out of that email, and booted me right out of it. And it was so funny. And I was laughing because I was like, "Good job, guys! Thanks a lot for being on top of it."
Appreciate technology and the services are working now. So
at least I know they're doing their job.
Real life example.
Yeah, but it was a real life example. It happened today. It was a real life example. It was really funny, man.
But I think about myself all the time of like being in cybersecurity for like 3-4 years now. I'm like, all my passwords are, lengthier and, meet more criteria, and I have multi-factor in so many more places. And I'm like, okay, like, I feel like it used to be like a hassle. I'd be like, this is kind of annoying, but now I'm like,
thank God
without it. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And I know so many people still don't. And I think of like, oh, my
Why
parents and
would
the
my
passwords
parents
that
don't? I
they
had to set them up. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
No,
exactly. So
I put
it's a learning
biometric on
process for a
everything.
lot of people.
No, I have
Mhm.
my kids, my wife, everything biometric, two-factor, multi-factor, my parents, multi-factor. Um, I had to set them up because sorry, mom and dad, I love you guys, but you're old. The older generation, they don't have, they may watch
Yep.
this later, so I want to make sure
Uh,
people, they, the older generation gets the biggest scams because one, they have generally the higher net worth, they have the most liquidity, and these guys know that, and so they go after and they pull this list, and they know that they don't have multi-factor authentication or they don't understand that technology. So yeah, I made sure. I was like, Mom, Dad, you guys are, going to have to stop
yeah.
with the old
Put
school
in some
mentality. Yeah,
measures.
just little,
Yeah.
just a little biometric, little something, little finger, whatever, just to make sure that nobody gets into your stuff. So yeah,
No,
it's
that's
crazy.
great. It's nice that you practice what you preach.
Oh yeah, of course.
So
Oh yeah,
that
it's
is, yeah.
funny. Yeah, it's funny. My mom called me yesterday. She was freaking out about well, not freaking out, but she was upset because she got a letter from TransUnion or we're Equifax about some kind of hacking. And I was like, I was reading. She was sending me like all the pictures of the letters, and I was just telling her, I was like, okay, well, look, this is, this. I was kind of walking her through what the steps are and helping her get through that because, and she was worried, and I was like, well, you're kind of right to, but the funny thing is that it happens to us all. You just make sure you sign up for the monitoring and all that, but as long as you didn't lose money and nobody took money out of your account, you're good. That's actually, we get a lot of clients that have don't have that luxury. They're lost millions, and we try to trace it to the best of our ability. But these guys are so good, man. They'll get their money, especially like Bitcoin or
Mm-hmm.
some kind of Coinbase type of thing. Especially now
No
that
currency.
tokenized sort of scam. That's a big thing right now. And that's another avenue that we're looking into because um, tokenized scams or EFT scams or Coinbase scams. Those are things that are happening right now. It's legit. And we had a client that lost, oh God, it was $2 million, $3 million of Bitcoin or cryptocurrency, and I was like, oh crap. We did our best, man. It was hard because, these guys are really smart. They understand that this is, if you don't do it on Coinbase or some other way, there's really hard to track it. And what was going on was they were using an alternative platform, and it looked legit. I saw it and I was like, wow, this thing looks legit. It had like all the tracking and the graphs and everything. It was crazy. And I thought, man, this is literally the lengths they went. It was impressive. And what they did was they mimicked the algorithm and the graphing of the growth chart of an actual coin that was going, but it was like a mimic. Basically, you say, for example, you were using Coinbase. They created an overlap or a mapping, overmapping of the Coinbase, but they used their own platform, and they were just siphoning his coins because he was feeding it, thinking he's investing in his best, and he was thinking he had like $50 million or some crazy crap, but he had zero because they took all his coins and they shuffled them around to, thousands of different Coinbase accounts, and it's gone. And we tried our hardest to try. I mean, we tried. God, we tried everything. It's just this is where we're at, man, and it's hard to. You got to really be smart about protecting that stuff. And that's why I always tell clients last bit is if someone is asking you to invest, if someone is saying, hey, um, anything over $500, you need to ask somebody. Like, honestly, I mean, $500, lose $500, that sucks. I get it. For some people, that's a lot of money, but anything over $500, you need to go, hey, is this company legit? Are these people right? Because they always start off small. They always say, hey, try this small investment, try this little thing. And then, I can't buy equipment. They use these scams like, hey, I can't buy this. I can't do that. I need your support. I'm in the military and I need to get a ticket home. These little things, they always do these sort of small to see if they trust fall scenarios. And then all of a sudden, they're like, they suck you in, and then all of a sudden you're 500 went to 5,000 and went to 10,000, and it's like 100,000. We've got a lot of clients, and we've been able to help some, but not all. It's very challenging when you get into that realm.
Gotcha. No, it's a good again, segue. I feel like you've been leading the conversation more
Sorry,
than.
brother. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to do that.
Oh no, you're good. Like I do have my list, and
Oh,
you're
I'm
working
sorry.
yourself into it.
I'm sorry.
No, don't apologize at all.
Yeah.
It's all great.
Yeah.
But I was curious, for you guys, hey, what's been, that I do want to get into like, hey, actual stages of the business as well.
Yeah, of course.
In terms of like challenges, what's been the toughest part of getting your service into the hands of your ideal clients? And do you have any like specific bottlenecks that you've been running into regarding like lead generation or outreach or lead conversion, things like that?
Yeah, well, we're a minnow in a big shark tank. Security
Yep.
is a saturated industry. You got a lot of guys that that are in it that we're like our backgrounds, special operations, military, police guys. They just sort of fall into it because they don't want to do contract work anymore. Contract work's drying up, so they don't have a lot of connections. So then they go into this, and so how do you how do you differentiate yourself from the masses? And that's a lot of work. That's a brand building behemoth, essentially. The 3 Bs, brand building behemoth. Say that 3 times fast. But yeah, anyway, nonetheless, it takes time and energy, and you really have to do good work. A lot of referrals, and yes, there's a lot of algorithm, ads, promotions, social media. There's so much overlapping of all the stuff, because the thing is, again, when you're building a brand and in security, the premise of security is trust. So you literally secure, right? That's the point of security is trust. So the whole premise of that is, how do you get the client to feel like they can trust you? One, with their lives, that's important. Two, with their money, and then of course, and then with their company or business. I mean, that's the other thing. That's their baby. And a lot of times you have to show them. It's like I was just mentioning prior to the trust fall. You have to kind of allow them to feel like, hey, this guy's going to catch me when crap hits the fan, and that's through brand recognition. And so a lot of that is done through a lot of hard work, a lot of marketing, a lot of work, meaning that in the sense of when we do our job, there's no complacency. It's always, you don't have the ability to go, like you got to be at hyperdrive mode at all times. You got to be in the state of excellence at all times, because there's no complacency in security. Complacency kills, is what I always tell my team, and that is the worst.
Yeah, I feel like, hey, all it takes is like one, breach, one issue for somebody to kind of lose their trust in you.
Yeah, that's it. And then they tell everybody. Yeah, they was like, this company had us, and then we just lost $100 million due to ransomware. I'm like, oh, that's something that's the brand awareness. Yeah, that's the brand awareness you don't want. Yeah, no. Or you have a principle, like an executive protection principle. They get injured. That's a way. Again, security is tough, but that's why it has to be multi-layered approach. And going into that, there's some things that has to happen first. So you have to have OSINT. So online source intelligence operations. You have to have a joint sort of a SOC, which is a security operations center. You have to make sure that they are aware of taskings and making sure that giving out the taskings and monitoring and watching. Then you got to make sure you have good team leads, and then a good team, and then the training. And then on top of which, your cyber guys, those guys got to be with the OSINT side. They got to make sure the cyber is on point. And then you got to have technology that is excelled in making sure they support network for the physical guys on the ground, the canines, the guys that are doing the grind work. They got to feel comfortable knowing that the SOC is listening and making sure they're aware of what's going on, and that everybody knows that there's lots of communication and the comms are good. There's so people think that security is just standing there with a weapon and just like a Nimrod and just looking mean and menacing, but that's not the case. Security is very complicated, and when it comes to people's lives, there's advanced work. Like if we got a principal that's coming into town, we do this all the time. We have to go do an advon, or we call it advanced reconnaissance, make sure like everything's in line before they even come on, before we pick them up from the airport or from the private jet area or wherever. We have to make sure like all of that's in order. We have to make sure like online source intelligence, not saying that nobody's going to have a riot or some kind of are we going to need crowd control because this guy's maybe not a popular person? Now we got to make sure, like as somebody saying, hey, when that guy shows up at Atlanta, we're going to have weapons ready to go up. I mean, it's so complex, and you have to know how to deal with that, and that's what security is about. And it's literally it's an embodiment of not only the trust, but it's embodiment of trusting your team, trusting your people, trusting the client, trusting you. It's all, like I said, everything's about trust. And if you fail in any one of those things, you're not gonna succeed, not at all.
Yeah, and I obviously like I can only speak from like more of like the cybersecurity side, less so than the physical side. But yeah, I think a lot of people these days might just want like, hey, there's this whatever big name product, brand name product.
Yeah,
They buy it, they be like, hey, I can just slap it on and everything's great. But I appreciate your kind of view of it that it has to be a little bit more comprehensive.
yes,
It's a little bit more specific to each individual or each business, and not
yes.
just one size fits all.
There is no
Put
one
this in
size
and
fits all. No, you're right.
exactly.
Yeah. There's a lot of companies like that do that. They're very huge, and I'm not going to name them because this is not the way I am. But there's a lot of
Yeah, I don't need
companies
to
that have.
bash anybody. Just
No, I'm saying but there's a lot of companies like that out there that have a one size fits all sort of checkbox mentality, and I don't want to be that big. I don't ever want to get that big. I like the way we do things. We're niche. We're white glove. We give the service. We give the quality. I feel good about that. If I get so big where I don't even recognize what's going on, and not because I'm senile, but more because the fact that I just don't recognize my company anymore, and I don't know the clients, and I don't know what's going on with the teams, and they're unhappy or happy. If I get to that point, I just that's not why I got into this. It's not who I am. It's not who our company is. Not who my partners are. We're just not that way.
No, I appreciate that. I feel like that, would make me want to work with you,
No,
honestly.
thank you.
Just because it would make me feel like, hey, I can at least trust you, and it feels like you'll care as much as I would.
Yeah, well, that's the terminology. I mean, the terminology is lead from the front. We use a lot of that in the military. Is lead from the front, and first in, last out type of mentality. And I think that's kind of where we were blessed to have that in that military mindset, to be able to, where there was a great book, Simon Sinek, I think is his name, Leaders Eat Last. I sort of live by that ethos. Leaders eat last. My team eats before I do, and everyone that works for me, everybody in the company, everybody knows that they're going to eat before I do. I mean, I'm going to eat, but I'm going to eat after. I may get some scraps, but I'm going to eat something. But save a piece of bread for me or something. But they're going to eat first, and that's how that's how I am, and they love that because that's how they've been working for me almost 5 or 6 years consistently. They never leave. Because I put them first, and that's and I hold them accountable. Mind you, I'm not a pushover. I may seem very sweet and nice, but when I run my business, straight up, and I'm direct but with respect. But they get it. They understand that I hold them accountable, but I also do anything for them, and they know that.
Awesome. Yeah, appreciate you sharing.
Yeah.
Just want to talk about I guess like the business for you guys, and what stage are you really at this point? What does growth look like for you guys over the next 6 to 12 months? And any top priorities that you have in mind over the next quarter or two?
Yeah. Okay. So the business has been growing quite well. Probably about 30% every year. Every year we grow about 30% every year.
Fantastic.
So it's just fantastic. I mean, I started out, in a garage band. Essentially, I was a garage band. That movie Almost Famous. I don't know if you know it, but I was a garage band. I was basically, started out. I had a Navy Fed credit card. This is what I started with six years ago. A Navy Fed credit card, and I started that with my business partner. And I was literally broke, bro. I had nothing, and the key element is that it was just like a straight willpower. I am like gonna manifest this company, and that's what I did, and I focused, and I manifested this thing where we're at, and we've been just so blessed and successful because of that, and my mindset, my vision. Because I don't, I think the key element is to answer your question, is going back to is how we treat our clients, and we try to be good stewards and what we have, and making sure our clients are taken care of. where we see each other, see our company, excuse me, in 6 months. Um, I think we would like to see ourselves as a very competitive company, to where that we are like the brand that is well known, a brand recognition company. Recently, we just received the Global Recognition Award. I was very happy and blessed in that. I was very proud of that. I was excited, and I
That's
love
awesome.
that. Yeah, it was great. And it was like on innovation and security. And I was like, man, this is so cool. I was like, I didn't expect. I mean, again, when I visioned this thing, I was like literally sitting on the couch on a computer with the Navy Fed credit card, trying to figure out how I'm going to spend whatever was on that balance of that card to make this thing off the ground. Much like you're saying in your podcast that you started this thing. I love this, and I love that you're passionate about it. But where we see ourselves in 6 months, hopefully we become a brand recognition, global recognition. I have a lot of great people here, a lot of veterans, a lot of police officers that have so much knowledge, so much care about what they do. So hopefully I can get them to a point where people can see that, and we become like a Allied, but not so big, or a Securitas, or a Pinkerton, or some big name company out there. But we're not as big. We're just a name that I want the name recognition of them. You see what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, and that's the key, is that's what I want. I want the quality. I want the people to go, wow, I know this company. This company's dope. These guys are
Yeah.
great.
You want your brand name to be synonymous with the quality that
That's
you guys are
correct.
actually
That's
offering.
correct. That is 100%. And 12 months from now, I feel like, I would like to get to a point where, we really expand it to a point where I can get a larger office. We have a nice office, but I would like to get a larger office. I would like to be able to create more opportunities, more international contracts for these guys, especially in the special operations units that are retiring. I would love to be able to create more international contracts for them, especially with the training. It's so crazy. I could tell you, I have so many awesome special forces guys that I'm associated with, that I know, and special operations guys I'm so associated with, that I know, that have such great talent, such a great knowledge. And I want to be able to help them, one, be able to be at home with their families and then leave for a short period of time, and then be able to go make a good amount of money and then come back home and see their kids. That was the big thing in the units, and especially being in the military. That was, you could spend years, 12 months, 16 months, 18-month deployments, and you would, see your baby born, and then you come back and they're already 2 years old walking, and you're like, dang, and I don't want that. I want our guys to be able to, they got out, they've got all that great experience. I want them to be able to keep that. Plus, it's positive. It gives them something to motivate them. A lot of guys get out, they don't feel like they're worth anything. They're not valuable. And that breaks my heart. I see a lot of that. Now, that stems to a lot of the suicide and the veterans community, because they don't feel a value. I mean, I try to let them know, of course, you're valued. The guys are, especially with me and my company, and our company, they're valued completely. And I really want to make this thing so big that they, like I said, everybody eats. I want everybody to eat. I want those guys to eat. I want those guys to feel like they have value again. That's my 12-month goal, is to grow it so big that they can, every special operations guy, any military guy that has a value, anybody that worked and has great value, can be a contributor to this company. That's where my 12-month goal
That's awesome. No, I feel like you sound like you'd be a boss I'd like to work for.
is.
Um,
Well,
just
thank
from
you.
your perspective and the
Well,
kind of
thank you.
person you seem to be.
That's a blessing. I appreciate you saying that. Thank you very
Yeah.
much. Very kind to say.
Just yeah. No, honestly, just being honest with you
No,
from
no, thank
what
you.
you
I
were telling
appreciate
me.
it's a compliment. I love it. Thank you. I
Yeah.
love that. With all humility, I take that. Thank you.
Just a couple more questions
Yeah,
for you here.
I'm here.
One that I like to ask everyone. I feel like you've touched on it a little bit, but hypothetically, let's say you had a magic wand where you could fix, one thing in your business right now that's either holding you back or slowing you guys down from getting where you want to be. What do you feel like that would be for you guys?
Well, I think it goes back to the brand awareness, brand recognition. I think that you know I can market as much as I can. I could spend thousands and thousands, which we do, of dollars of ads, whatever. I think that's what holds us back is so many other people are doing the same. And I think the challenge for us is how do we distinguish ourselves? I think that's been the biggest challenge thus far, especially when you get into security world. Investigation side, our investigations, man, we do, honestly, that is like top notch. We have an amazing side of that company. Getting into the security side has been a rough challenge for us. Especially coming from an Army guy, I'm like, this should have been a cakewalk. But the investigations has been amazing, and I've had just a massive growth on that end. And so this is where the challenge comes into play. Is like I said, we're a minnow in a big shark tank of security companies. And so how do we distinguish ourselves? I think that's been the biggest challenge is how do we make ourselves into a brand that is, again, trusted? So I guess to answer your question, that is where we struggle the most is getting that name Axios Security Group as the forefront of, because a lot of companies, they have that warm, woobie feeling when they hear Allied Universal Securitas, Pinkerton, because they've been around for 100 years, 50, 60 years. I can't knock them. They probably started out like me in a garage band 100 years ago. I can't help it. They've been around forever. But then you got to say is, okay, well, how do we distinguish ourselves between them? And, are they so big where they ignore the needs of every client?
Yeah,
I mean, who knows? Yeah. Who knows? And that's why I think I look for those niche. I look for those things where they may be so big that they have lost touch with what the perspective, what the client needs in such a detailed manner. And
client relationships.
Yeah, very good client relationships. Yeah. Again, they love the name like Nike, Reebok, but at the same point, and they feel like, okay, I got that warm, what we call woobie, military woobie blanket over us, and they have the Allied Universal Securitas woobie over us. But at the same point, are they really being taken care of like they need to be? And I feel like that's where we win. That's where we get the winner's side of that is because we focus so much on the needs of them in a way that is makes them feel like a VIP, like a high net worth individual, a high valued individual. That's definitely what we feel like we're trying to make each of our clients feel like, even if they have a lot of money or don't have a lot of money. We still, everybody that works with our company is a high valued individual, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that's awesome. I feel like that's a great approach to have because, it's like, well, I could, again, buy a top tier, whatever you want to call it, top tier, quote unquote company that has a big brand name. But if I feel like I'm just another, number for them to help hit their quota, then I feel like I'm not going to be as satisfied.
Yeah, of course. So. Yeah, of course. And that happens a lot. And then we're there to sort of pick up that piece and say, hey, look, I know you were with them for a long time and we're sure they did their best, but we're here to help you get to where you need to be. And that's ultimately what we're trying to sort of accomplish. That's the challenge again. And then going back to that trust thing, they have to feel like, okay, well, I'm going to spend millions of dollars or spend hundreds of thousands or thousands of dollars, whatever, to trust you with that and making sure that I get what I need, because a lot of these companies, it's all about price now. That's a big challenge too. That's a big challenge. And I didn't talk about that. Pricing is a challenge. You've got, we're a small company, so we're small to medium, right? MB, and these larger companies have huge caps. They have huge ability to undercut us to a point where it's sometimes we can't even compete. Like that's another challenge, the pricing out challenge, because my costs are way different than theirs. They have $100 billion coming in, and I'm nowhere near that. And then the fact that my costs are different than theirs, and they could eat a lot of that in the sense that I can't eat. So they could get a security person, give you example, a security person for a general security person, maybe for $35, $40 for a small to medium business, but they can do it for $10 or $15. But then again, we go back to the quality issue. I think this is the challenge that a lot of these companies don't. The quality is different. You get some guy that looks like Fred G. Sanford out there from Sanford and Sons, 100 pounds overweight with a, weapon, and he's walking around and he looks like a slob, and you paid $15 for it. But at the same point, this is the guy that's supposedly
what kind of service are they offering?
This is the guy who's supposed to keep me safe and my team safe, and I could have got someone for $20 more that was like, hard charge a steel eater, like, and rip through, and happy with, and make exactly make them feel like they're valued. I talk about the McDonald's versus Chick-fil-A. I don't know if you have Chick-fil-A in LA. I forgot if you did.
Yeah, we do.
I compare a lot, and I used to my first job was with Chick-fil-A as a 15-year-old. It's funny. So I think the funny thing is that I like to think of us as the Chick-fil-A of security versus the McDonald's security. We're going to get your order right when you go through drive-through, and we're going to make sure you got napkins in your bag and straws and your Chick-fil-A sauce and your ketchup. We're going to make sure all that is there, right? We're going to keep all that in the bag. All is going to be real. And yeah, you did get a $1.25 burger versus a $6 chicken sandwich. But I guarantee you drove away and you're like, man, I got everything I need in that bag, and I got everything, and it tastes great. And yeah, sorry I paid $5 more, but you know what? I feel better about it.
It does give you the my pleasure at the end.
Yeah, well, I do say that. It was embedded in me, bro. It was like crazy. It was like my pleasure. It was like some kind of like psyops, psychological operations. And to this day, sometimes I would say my pleasure, and I'm like, gosh, I can't believe I say this stuff. My pleasure. Dangerous. Stop that.
Yeah, your next business venture will be opening a Chick-fil-A franchise.
No, I'm good, bro. I'm good. I've got too much on my plate as it is.
Yeah, but a bit of a pivot for you, but I think you can pull it off. So.
Well, that would be a huge pivot from where I'm coming from. But yeah, for sure. But yeah, I would know that if I needed security at my store, I would have no problem getting it. Hire a bunch of special operations guys at the front of the counter, the cashiers with like these huge beards and like, tattoos. My pleasure.
All right, yeah, different Chick-fil-A experience, but
very, very unique.
Not the standard practice out there.
Yeah, that would be a very unique Chick-fil-A experience.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Honestly, that kind of all I had. Only other question, I guess, is hey, if people wanted to learn more about your product or service, where could they get in touch with you?
Yeah, they can easily call us at our corporate number, 833-462-9467, or they can look us up at Axios Security Group.com, and it's Axios, which is AXIOS. There it is. Hello. Try it again. So yes.
Okay.
Sorry.
Yeah, I thought I lost you there for a second.
No, I was like,
either way, I'll plug your website in. Yeah.
I was like, okay, yeah. But so basically, So you can look us up. Axios Security. Yeah, and actually, it's funny because a lot of people ask me, why'd you name it? It seems so complicated. And Axios is actually a Greek word. It's a Greek, traditional Greek and Roman. It means we are worthy. Axios. And that was that's how my dad is a deacon in Catholic Church. My brother's a priest, and it's sort of religious indentation to that in Christians. And so Axios means sort of we are worthy, and that's also sort of underlines who we are as a company, because we are worthy both in Christ as well as security for working for the people, to making sure that we're worthy for your business is ultimately where we come from. So
awesome. Well, hey, I know we said, hey, 30, 45 minutes, and we're at now here because, again, I just enjoy talking to people, and you've had so much information.
Well, thank you. I love this. I hope I was able to bring value to your podcast.
Everybody, I talked to, I'm like, I learned something that I had no idea about before, or get a different perspective.
Yeah.
And I mean, for you, honestly, I might have enjoyed hearing about you as a person more than the business itself.
Well, thank you.
You're just an interesting character to me, but no, thank you very much for hopping on.
Yeah.